sister-in-law called the cops on me, so I refused to babysit her kids, and now her life is falling apart. For years, my sister-in-law Sarah and I had a babysitting arrangement that worked perfectly. We started it back in March 2020 when the pandemic screwed everyone's lives over. She'd watch my kids 3 days a week and I'd watch hers 3 days. No money exchanged hands, no drama, no, it was a win-win. And for 3 solid years, we kept it running smoothly. If something came up, we'd give each other plenty of notice like mature adults. Then Sarah decided to throw all that out the window over one stupid argument. A couple of weeks ago, we had this petty disagreement. I can't even remember what it was about. It was that insignificant. But apparently Sarah took it personally. I figured she'd cool off after a day, so I didn't dwell on it. The next morning, I dropped my kids off at her place like I'd done 100 times before. I didn't even go inside. That wasn't unusual for us. If one of us was in a rush or just not feeling social, we'd stay in the car, let the kids go inside, and drive off once the door opened. I didn't think twice about it. I waved at her door when I saw it open, and then I headed to work. My commute is about 40 minutes, so I just zoned out to music, totally unaware that was about to hit the fan. When I finally got to work and checked my phone, my stomach dropped. I had 20 missed calls and a ton of texts, all from Sarah. The text started off with her saying she wasn't watching my kids that day because of our argument. Then the tone shifted to her bitching about me ignoring her. The last few messages were her threatening to call the police if I didn't pick up my kids within 45 minutes. I couldn't believe what I was reading. I called her immediately apologizing for not seeing her messages sooner. I explained that my phone was on silent while I drove. Because I'm not a who texts and drives. I told her I'd leave work early and come get the kids, but she cut me off. "You've got 45 minutes or I'm calling the cops," she said, all smug like she thought she was doing me a favor. I was speechless. Who the hell calls the cops on their own family? I work with kids for a living. If anything about child abandonment ended up on my record, my career would be over. Sarah knew this and she still pulled this. I told her I'd leave as soon as I could, but I had to wrap up a few things at work first. My boss was understanding, but even with her support, I couldn't just drop everything immediately. By the time I got back to Sarah's place, it was just over an hour later. 2 squad cars were parked in front of Sarah's place, lights flashing, and my kids were standing on the porch looking scared out of their minds. I wanted to throw up. Sarah was standing there talking to the officers like she was the damn victim in all this, acting all righteous and smug. I got out of my car, took a deep breath, and approached them. My first thought was to yell at Sarah right there in front of everyone, but I knew I couldn't. So, I turned to the cops and tried to explain what had happened. "There's been a misunderstanding," I told them. "I didn't abandon my kids. I dropped them off here this morning like I've done 100 times before, but I didn't see her message saying she couldn't watch them until I was already at work." One of the officers looked at me like he'd heard this story a million times before. "You didn't see her messages?" he asked, skeptical. "No," I said, trying to keep my voice calm. "I was driving and my phone was on silent. I called her back as soon as I saw the messages and told her I was on my way. I got here as fast as I could." Sarah, of course, had to chime in. "I told you I couldn't watch them today," she snapped. "You should have checked your phone before leaving them here. This is on you." I could feel my blood boiling, but I kept it together. "I didn't see the text, Sarah. That's not an excuse to call the cops on me. I work with kids. Do you have any idea what this could have done to me?" She just shrugged like it was no big deal. The cops looked between us like they didn't want to be involved in our family drama. One of them finally said, "All right, this sounds like a communication issue. There's no crime here, so we're not filing any reports. Just make sure this doesn't happen again." They left, and I grabbed my kids and put them in the car. I didn't even look at Sarah as I walked back to my car, but she just had to get the last word in. "Maybe next time you'll check your phone," she yelled after me. "This was your fault, not mine." I didn't respond. I couldn't. If I'd said anything, it would have been a string of words that would have probably made me look like the crazy one. Instead, I slammed the car door, drove home, and spent the rest of the day trying to calm it down. The next few days were a blur. I couldn't stop replaying everything in my head. The cops, the smug look on Sarah's face, my kids looking terrified on that porch, the fact that I even had to explain myself to the police. It made my blood boil all over again. She knew what she was doing. She knew exactly how much was at stake for me and she did it anyway. A few days later, Sarah had the audacity to text me. She said, and I quote, "I think I might have overreacted. Can we go back to the old babysitting schedule?" I stared at the message for a good 5 minutes, trying to decide if I was going to respond or just block her outright. In the end, I decided she needed to hear exactly what I thought. "No, Sarah," I replied. "We're not going back to anything. You called the cops on me, on your own family. You knew what that could have done to me and you didn't give a so. No, I'm not babysitting your kids ever again. Figure it out," she replied almost immediately, trying to twist it back on me. "If you'd checked your phone or spoken to me when you dropped them off, none of this would have happened," she wrote. "I warned you. I would have handled it differently if I were in your position." I couldn't believe the nerve of this woman. "You're out of your mind if you think this is my fault." I shot back. "You crossed a line and I'm done with you." She kept texting trying to guilt me into forgiving her, but I didn't reply. I blocked her number and figured that'd be the end of it. Spoiler alert, it wasn't.